At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Live Bet Sunday, I'm Scott Seidenberg here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. Hit us all up on the network at VSiN Live. Monitoring all the action. Sunday night baseball going on right now between the Braves and the Padres. We have one game in the NHL, a couple of NBA games in progress. Still to come, a best bet on the late NHL game, so you don't want to miss that. Joining us now on the Progressive guest line, he is a betting analyst over at Scores and Odds and the Action Network. Kyle Murray joins us here on the program. And Kyle, last segment, I was talking about the Suns game coming up against the Rockets, as Houston is a short 2.5-point favorite in Phoenix. I'll be honest with you, I can't stand the Phoenix Suns. I don't think any NBA team has lost me more money this season than the Phoenix Suns. That being said, 2.5-point dogs, playoff desperation. It seems like an intriguing angle for me to play. What are your early leans on this game right now?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think, you mentioned it earlier, Suns obviously have a ton to play for right now, trying to improve their standing in the postseason right now. And, when you look at a lot of their numbers, they're actually a much better team with Bradley Beal out, which he is for this game with the hamstring injury. So, I think that speaks a lot about Bradley Beal as a player. But when you talk about just, their ability to cover spreads and their just win record with Bradley Beal off the floor and out of games, I definitely think that I would also agree with you here. I do like the Houston team in general, good defensive team, young and very athletic, but I think I would be also on the Sun side here with that added motivation with the postseason right around the corner. Any
players that you like, any player props that you might be looking to attack in this one? Tip off about 10 minutes or so from now.
Yeah, I've been looking for a Colin Gillespie rebound prop all day. They've been, very hesitant to give us numbers there. They did just, announce that he's going to officially be in the starting lineup, which we did assume, but a lot of times books are pretty hesitant to give us numbers on, non-major superstars these days, which is frustrating. But I do like the Gillespie rebound prop at 2.5 if we can find that. And then the Devin Booker under assist number has also been pretty kind to me as of late. So if that number is still at 7.5 or 6.5, prefer obviously at 7.5. But the Booker number I do like as well. And then the over on Şengün's PRA was also popping quite a bit for me in my projection. So those are probably the three bets for player props that I've been looking at the most for this one.
Go back to that assist that you were talking about there with Booker. What is it about, just the game flow that has you on these Booker unders?
Yeah, so as of late, I think it was mainly just the books really overcorrecting to a few really big games. And, obviously with Bradley Beal off the floor, I do think a lot of people were, in the belief that his assist rate would be, improved, or, a lot of these rates would be higher with Bradley Beal off because he's had such, monster assist games as of late. But really, when you look back to even the start of last year, so a very wide sample, his assists per minute are really unchanged. So the Booker number, I think, was just kind of overreacted to a little bit. It does look like it's about even money or plus money on some books for under 6.5. It looks like BetMGM has it at 7.5, but a lot of juice. So that number did get a little bit worse as the night went on, but also a very difficult matchup, right, against a Houston team that plays really solid defense and allows the second fewest assist chances per game to their opponents. So I think just the matchup, as well as I think that line moving up a little bit too much based on a few strong games for Booker, just had me on the under there.
I like that a lot because Booker is going to pick up the scoring. So if he's scoring, he's not assisting. So I do like that. It could be a correlation. Maybe you go Booker over points, but under assists. Could be an interesting little way to attack a same-game parlay in this matchup. But once again, the Rockets, a 2.5-point road favorite in Phoenix. Game tipping off a little less than about 5-6 minutes or so now from Phoenix. Sunday Night Baseball, Kyle, is going to the top of the 8th inning. The Padres have now taken a 3-0 lead over Atlanta. And tonight it's been all about Nick Pivetta, who has gone 7 shutout innings. And if not for an Orlando Arcia single, he'd be perfect right now. Just one hit, no walks, 4 strikeouts. He is now out of the game. It looks like it's going to be Jason Adam coming in for the Padres. If we look at the live betting market and we see Atlanta plus 2.5 runs, plus 175, does that intrigue you at all?
Yeah, it does. And I even have a live boost token over on DraftKings right now, so definitely going to take advantage of that. I like this number here. You talked about Pivetta having massive success. I think some of these Braves batters that are due up obviously will have a better chance to get some production against the bullpen here. And then hopefully things go well, and in the 9th inning we'll see some of these more prominent hitters towards the top of the order, guys like Matt Olson, Austin Riley. So if we can get around to them, especially at some point in the 9th, I think that would be a great chance to finally get some scoring production here for these Braves.
Yeah, it's very intriguing to me because of the opportunity to go against Adam here instead of Pivetta, just getting a difficult look. Olson did make the last out in the 8th inning, so not great, but you do lead off here with Ozuna, Albies, and Harris, so certainly pop in those 3 guys, and if they can just get a couple of base runners here, then yes, they will bring it around to the top in the 9th inning, so I'll co-sign that. Let's jump in at a juicy little plus 175 price. Just give us 1 run here, Atlanta. Yeah. And the benefit is you do get the top of the 9th inning, something that we have to remind people when it comes to betting baseball. If you're taking a favorite on the run line, a home favorite, let's say, at minus 1.5, you're not guaranteed the 9th inning. So is that something you subscribe to? Don't bet a home favorite on the run line. Only look for road favorites?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good call, and I think a lot of times, at least in my projections, the hitters on the road will see small increases in their projections as well, just because you have that added ability to get those extra at bats. So yeah, I think that's a really good sort of angle to look at, not only for player props but also for the totals and the spreads and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's a great call.
Any big takeaways? And we're talking to Kyle Murray from the Action Network, Scores and Odds as well, joining us on the Progressive Guest Line. I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's Live Bet Sunday here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Any big takeaways from the first weekend here of the Major League Baseball season?
Yeah, I think the funny takeaway has been all the talk about these Yankees bats and the new shape of them. Did see some other guys around the league with those bats as well. So I don't think it's necessarily just the Yankees, which I think a lot of people had that belief that it was. But I saw Ryan Jeffers of the Twins have that bat, and it's clearly working for Jazz Chisholm. I mean, I think he's at 3 home runs already on the year now. Anthony Volpe has 2 home runs. Not a big power guy. So obviously these Yankees guys are finding ways to get it done. And the bats have been a huge talk of that. But yeah, I think, so as a Tigers fan, getting to see them go on the West Coast, play the Dodgers very clearly, it's sort of theirs to lose right now. That team, that roster is just stacked head to toe. You have Mookie Betts, who's definitely not 100% after he was dealing with that illness that caused him to lose, 20, 25 pounds. Still has 2 home runs already on the year, hit that 3-run walk-off home run the other night. So, yeah, I think it is impressive to see where the Dodgers are currently, and obviously they're going to be a favorite for quite a while, potentially even through the postseason. So that team is definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Speaking of these Yankees bats, and I think the talk, it's hilarious because it's just technology. Like, that's what these companies do. Like, it's only a matter of time before everybody in Major League Baseball is doing this. It's not cheating. It's in the rules. It's the bats conform to Major League Baseball standards. They're just designed a different way. It's kind of like when people started to switch over from ash bats to maple bats, or starting to use bamboo bats. Like, this is just changing with the times here. That being said, the idea behind these new bats for the Yankees is that it's a harder wood on the barrel spot, on the sweet spot. Do we start to look from a player projection prop maybe at opposing pitchers that have high barrel rates against the Yankees and look to fade those pitchers, or maybe go over some Yankee hitter props when they face a pitcher that has a high barrel rate because of the Yankees now having these bats that increase the hardness of the barrel?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is, from a projection standpoint, a little bit difficult to quantify because, keep in mind the weather in Yankee Stadium yesterday was absolutely phenomenal from a hitting perspective. The wind was blowing out. It was 75, 80 degrees. So obviously the bats definitely helped, but it's hard to know really how much it helped. And they play in essentially a little league ballpark out there in the Bronx anyway. So I think it'll be interesting to see how much we can actually pull, data from that. But, clearly it's doing something for these guys. Obviously they have the data to back it as well. Otherwise, they wouldn't be going to it. And I believe it was an MIT physicist who figured this out, who's now a coach for the Marlins. And like you mentioned, we'll see plenty of players around the league and pretty much all the teams implementing this now. But it kind of reminds me of when Bryson was going to that new club face in golf. So I think there's a lot of interesting dynamics to it. But from a projection standpoint, I think it'll probably be difficult to quantify that. But it's certainly an interesting talking point.
Now, speaking of like projections and ballpark factors and whatnot, are you having to upgrade the Tampa Bay Rays a little bit because the dimensions at Steinbrenner Field are that of Yankee Stadium? It's identical. So 314 down the line, the short porch in right field. Does that give you a different projection on the Rays hitters?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Rays props, I've been sort of all over them, and it didn't really turn out too great because the Rays decided to absolutely go into a massive slump to start the year. They had 6 runs in their first 3 games or so. But I think when you look at where they've been today, they finally had a better game. But when you look at the park in Tropicana that they were playing at, when you look, the sheer upgrade is obviously one of the largest that we've seen over the last decade with these park changes. So it's a massive upgrade for sure.
The Braves just got a runner on, a ground ball, runner safe at second, out at first, then the runner got picked off at second base. They threw behind the runner at second, and they picked him off. And so there goes our chance to score a run here in the 8th inning. We got about 20, 30 seconds left, Kyle. You have one player prop that you like here for Monday's slate of games?
Yeah, like Vlad Guerrero over 1.5 total bases, plus 100 over on DraftKings. Good matchup here against Mike Soroka, who throws a slider 37% of the time to right-handed hitters, and that happens to be a pitch that Vlad crushes, 360 ISO. So I like the plus 100 over 1.5 total bases, and I also like a little sprinkle on plus 500 for his home run prop as well.
Love it. There he is, Kyle Murray, checking stuff out, Scores and Odds, and the Action Network. Appreciate the time, Kyle. Good luck with your bets, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
There he is. More live betting coming up next with me, Scott Seidenberg, right here on Live Bet Sunday on VSiN.
This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here on Live Bet Sunday here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Good thing we didn't get to place that bet in on the Braves at the plus 2.5. I mean, it's still a nice little plus money sprinkle if you want to take a look at it. Right now, it's at plus 3.5, but that's minus 220. So there would be absolutely no play on that whatsoever. But the Braves getting a runner picked off on second base and just blowing an opportunity to score a run, that stings. There. Padres with a 3-0 lead here, bottom of the 8th inning. Sunday Night Baseball will conclude the first weekend of the Major League Baseball season. Talked about it briefly with Kyle Murray last segment from Scores and Odds and the Action Network. A couple of things. One, the Yankees torpedo bats. Come on. This is just technology advancing. That's all it is. These bat companies every single year are trying to improve their products. And as long as it stays within the Major League Baseball standards, everything's above board. Now, the one thing that I could see happening is perhaps Major League Baseball changes their standards. Perhaps Major League Baseball changes their rules on what is legal and what is not legal. They're certainly within their rights to do so. Or what is more likely to happen is the other bat companies are going to replicate this technology and make their own versions. And then you'll have Mizuno and Louisville and Axe, and they're all going to make their own versions of these bats. And we're already seeing players across Major League Baseball use this. This is not a secret. All these players know about it. So it's not like the Yankees are cheating. Now, what I do find is interesting is because of this new technology, which increases, and for those who are not aware, the Yankees had on staff this former MIT grad who engineered a new design for a bat that puts a harder wood on the sweet spot of the bat. Essentially, they pulled a lot of data, and they figured out that the majority of the hits were on a certain part of the barrel. And this is what the StatCast data has done now in Major League Baseball. I mean, there's numbers on everything in Major League Baseball. So well, let's take a look at barrel rate. Let's look at barrel percentage. How many, and then they actually can figure out where on the barrel the majority of a player's hits are coming. So this person figured out, hey, the majority of these hits, and I believe it was for Cody Bellinger, was the first time it occurred, the majority of the hits are on a certain part of the bat. So they engineered the technology to move a denser, the wood to this part of the bat to make it harder. And so, thus resulting in a greater exit velocity once the ball hits that part of the bat. And it's just like any other bat company adjusting their bats to adjust the weight. Some bats are balanced. Some bats are end-loaded. More weight towards the end, at the end of the bat, as opposed to a balanced bat, which feels a little bit differently. An end-loaded bat's going to have more whip through the zone. A balanced bat, you'll be able to control a little bit more. We've seen players use all different kinds of bats in Major League Baseball. Who is it? Is it Brandon Nimmo or for the Mets that has that weird bottom of the bat where it's like he's holding like a hammer? No one has a problem with that. But yet, everyone has a problem because the Yankees are mashing all these home runs. Okay. Here's where I think now we can take advantage of this from a betting angle. A betting angle is where we can now look to see in games, that the Yankees are playing in, because the majority of their players now are using these bats, if there's an opposing pitcher that has a high barrel rate. And if the opposing pitcher has a high barrel rate, you could look then to fade that pitcher going up against the Yankees bats. For example, let's look at last year. I want to look at last year's numbers. And this is just, for me, I'm curious to see what this looks like last year. Because the Yankees, they teed off against Nestor Cortes. That was kind of like, they had 9 home runs in that game, but they had 4 in the first inning. So it was fascinating to watch. Last season, Nestor Cortes, let's try and look to see if his StatCast numbers last year and see if he was a high barrel rate pitcher. 5.6 barrels per plate appearance, a 7.9 barrel percentage. Now that's high, but it's not as high as it was when he played the Yankees here in the first game. He had a barrel percentage in that first game against the Yankees of 30%. Out of 10 batted balls, 3 of them hit the barrel. And I believe those 3 resulted in home runs. But last year, Nestor Cortes had a max exit velo against of 117.4. A 7.9 barrel percentage. Last year in Major League Baseball, the worst barrel percentage in Major League Baseball was 11%. And that belonged to Carlos Rodon of the Yankees. And then Nestor Cortes was at 7 point something? So Cortes was in the top 50 or so of barrel rate pitchers in Major League Baseball. If the Yankees are facing a pitcher that has a high barrel rate, I think the Yankees are going to get some hits. They're going to get some home runs. The game's going to go over. And until the market adjusts with these totals, total was 8.5 for the Yankee game today. That was too low. And it went over with ease. The totals might still be low. And the market might not adjust to the Yankees with these bats. And it might not adjust, if we're being honest, to other players around the league using these bats. But let's just take an example. Let's just look here. The Yankees are off on Monday, tomorrow, and their next game coming up, they begin a series on Tuesday against the Arizona Diamondbacks. The projected starting pitcher is Corbin Burnes. It is at Yankee Stadium. Who knows what the weather's going to be like? Maybe 50, 60 degrees if it's a beautiful day. I don't know. But Corbin Burnes pitching for the Diamondbacks. Now, yes, the Yankees have seen Corbin Burnes. They saw him last year, and Corbin Burnes had a good year for the Orioles. But now pitching for the Diamondbacks. Last year, Corbin Burnes had a barrel percentage of 6.7. That's not exactly a high barrel rate. That wouldn't be a guy I'd be looking to go against. However, when the Yankees face some of these other pitchers that had some high barrel rates last season, and again, I'm just looking at last season's numbers, but if they face a Taj Bradley, a J.P. Sears, Cutter Crawford, Dean Kramer, these are guys I would certainly look to back Yankee bats against those pitchers. I think it's fascinating. I think there's more to dive in when it comes to this stuff, and I don't know if the market's going to adjust for it, but so far so good. It is working for the New York Yankees, blasting all these home runs using the new technology in these bats. And no, it's not cheating, and pretty soon everyone around baseball is going to be using these bats, and every company that makes bats is going to be designing their bats to replicate this technology. The other thing we mentioned with our guest last segment, Kyle, was that Tampa Bay, the Rays, are playing their home games this year at Steinbrenner Field, the Yankees' spring training facility. What's important about that is that the dimensions of Steinbrenner Field in Tampa are an exact replica of the Yankee Stadium dimensions. And everyone talks about the Yankees hitting home runs with the short porch in right field, the lefties certainly having an advantage. Well, the same thing's going to apply for the Tampa Bay Rays in their home games. The same thing's going to apply to opposing hitters down in Tampa. Now, weather's different, obviously. It's hotter, humidity, all that stuff. There's no roof. So a lot of rainouts are coming for the Rays. And the overs didn't hit in the first series, but I'd be looking at some overs here for the Rays games, and I'd be looking at some Rays player props or opposing hitters player props when it comes to games played in Tampa at Steinbrenner Field. Treat it like you would Yankee Stadium. We'll get back into the NCAA tournament coming up a little bit later on. The bracket might be done, or your bracket might be done, because you might have not picked all 4 1 seeds to get to the Final Four, but the tournament's not done yet. Neither are your chances to win. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber today for just $9.99 and turn any of your tournament heartbreak into betting success. You'll get daily best bets from hosts and guests, exclusive betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 video access on the VSiN Watch app, plus full VSiN.com access with expert analysis and betting systems. Sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe for just $9.99. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. Coming up next from pregame.com, Munaf Manji will join me, Scott Seidenberg, right here on Live Bet Sunday.
This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Live Bet Sunday, I'm Scott Seidenberg here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Keeping an eye on our live bet on the Minnesota Timberwolves, who lead the Pistons right now 94-88. Still 8 minutes to go, almost 9 minutes to go in regulation. For those who are tuning in late, maybe not aware of what's going on in this game or why we live bet the Timberwolves, who were losing at the half, there was a brawl in this game. There was a fight. And you had several players ejected on both sides for the Pistons. Their head coach, J.B. Bickerstaff, was ejected, as well as bench players Ronald Holland, Isaiah Stewart, and Marcus Sasser. For the Timberwolves, Naz Reid and Dante DiVincenzo were ejected. But I figured going up against the Pistons, who were, winning The Timberwolves were 7.5-point favorites to start the game, and I wanted to fade the Pistons with a short bench and no head coach for the second half. And so far, it's looking pretty good. But this will be a little bit of a battle here down the stretch. 99-90 Timberwolves lead the Pistons. Let's get back into the Major League Baseball conversation, and let's welcome in my buddy Munaf Manji. You hear him across the pregame.com podcast network, Sports Gambling Podcast Network as well, joining us on the Progressive Guest Line. And Munaf, I talked in our last couple of segments about the Yankees bats and everyone, making a whole big deal about this new technology. Do you think there's opportunities to either play overs or player props if the market hasn't caught up here to this new technology, if in fact it's the reason why we're seeing the Yankees hit so well to start the year?
Yeah, I think it's both of it, what you mentioned, like playing overs and, player props if you want to go hits, runs, RBIs, home run props, whatever the case might be. But, Yankees, the last two games of their series opening weekend here almost hit a mile, worth of home runs between their lineup. So I think there's something to it. We're talking a little bit, offline there that some of the other teams and companies will start, looking at the technology of these bats. And if it's producing more runs, then that's going to get the fans excited, right? Or of course, when the public or teams or I should say fans are in attendance, they want to see the hits, they want to see the big home runs. That's what gets excitement going. So I'd be with you. I think that sooner or later the market will catch up. I think maybe this is the week where we need to start, looking at it more in depth before the market catches up as well, and playing some of these overs, with these new bats or at least the technology of it, Scott.
Yeah, and maybe we can start finding out what other players around the league are using them. I saw, Tyler Stevenson maybe is using them, or certainly I think the Twins had some players, so we have to see who exactly is using these bats and look to play their props over. I said we look at opposing pitchers that are facing the Yankees and look for pitchers that have high barrel rates, because if the technology here is for harder barrels, let's look at the pitchers that hit the most barrels.
Yeah, that's a great point. Again, those numbers are all out there. You just got to do the digging for it. So, barrel rate, things like that, those advanced stats, something that, not a lot of people look into, at least the general public, the bettors. But, us being baseball junkies like you and myself here, Scott, we'll look at those things. And I think those are opportunities. But you mentioned that, hey, play overs for a game, team total overs, player props to go overs. I think they're a good opportunity for us to cash in on those type of bets.
There you have it. He's Munaf Manji joining me on the Progressive Guest Line. I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's Live Bet Sunday here on VSiN. Now, the Major League Baseball schedule here for Sunday is in the books, as the Padres have finished off a four-game sweep of the Atlanta Braves with a 5-0 win at home. How surprised are you that Atlanta dropped the first 4 games of the season?
I'm very surprised. I don't think that was on my bingo card. There was a lot of hope. Again, still only on 4 games when you talk about a 162-game season, but at least you would have thought in a 4-game set that the Braves get one at least at minimum. But give a lot of credit to the pitching of the Padres. They've been fantastic to start the season. And, if we said that there's 2 undefeated teams in the West between the Dodgers and the Padres, I think Padres are going to take that every day, every single day of the week there. So Atlanta will figure it out, right? Chris Sale coming off the Cy Young Award year, maybe a little bit of regression there for him. Spencer Strider will be back later this season for them. So, I'm not sounding alarms just yet. Like I mentioned, it's a 162-game season, but give a lot of credit to the Padres getting all 4 games against one of the better teams, if not one of the best teams in the National League, keeping pace early on with the Dodgers staying on their heels. So a big series there, big series sweep. And again, those tiebreakers come into play later down the road for the Padres if it comes to seeding and things like that, if they're in the wild card hunt there. So very surprised with the Padres. I was high on them coming into this year, Scott. I like their win total to go over, so a great start here for them to go 4-0.
Any big takeaways from a betting perspective of the first full series of the Major League Baseball season, maybe besides the Yankees bats, but anything that you've noticed that you've been kind of betting here early on the first couple of days of the year?
I think one thing we want to keep an eye on is probably going to be in the same division, the Orioles to go over. I know that they're missing Gunnar Henderson, but Adley Rutschman, I think it was his first at bat. He hit a home run against the Toronto Blue Jays. Maybe it's fading the Blue Jays pitching I know now Max Scherzer is going to be on the IL. He'll still dealing with that thumb injury from the spring training. So now he'll be out for some time. So that thins up their rotation a little bit there. But that AL East division, I think that we'll see some runs being scored, especially with Tampa now playing in the minor league park there of the New York Yankees, right? So that's going to be a hitter-friendly ballpark. Didn't transpire this weekend, but again, it was against the Colorado Rockies, who historically over the past 4, 5, 6 seasons have struggled on the road. But now you'll have other teams come in, and that might be an opportunity for us to look at some overs in those games for the Rays. Again, they're not at Tropicana anymore because of the hurricane, and just didn't get around to fixing the stadium there for the Tampa Bay Rays. So that's one thing I'm looking at, Scott. Detroit is another team that was a little bit disappointing this weekend. Not really how much you can take away from it. It was against the Dodgers there, but I think they'll bounce back. I'll be looking to bet on them for this upcoming week here. So those are I think it's a couple of teams. And again, also the Red Sox offense, right? I know Rafael Devers struggled mightily at the tail end of the last year, a little bit in spring training. I know he got a late start and he's off to an atrocious start, but I'm pretty confident that he will be able to turn it around. I'm not worried about the bats for the Red Sox, but I think this series against the Orioles in the starting the week here, Scott, maybe we'll look at some overs there as well between the Red Sox and the Orioles.
We got a couple of teams that will have their home openers here on Monday. The Brewers will have their home opener against the Royals. The Orioles have their home opener against the Red Sox. Phillies home opener against the Rockies. So there are some day games here on Monday. Anywhere that you're looking here on Monday's slate of Major League Baseball. And the home opener, for the Sacramento Las Vegas Athletics, who will be playing their first game in Sutter Health Park there in Sacramento tomorrow night.
Yeah, look, I've been high on the A's this upcoming season. They got the series split. They're 2-2 to start the year. They have a lot of young talent there, so I'm not high on the Cubs this upcoming season. Just don't know what direction they want to go in, right? I know they traded for Kyle Tucker and Ryan Presley from the Astros, so I haven't got the extension done for Kyle Tucker, so it just feels like I don't know what direction they're really going in. A's have a lot of young talent on the offensive side of things, right? They're everyday players, so they have guys that can hit. So I'll be looking at the A's at plus money against the Cubs. Big series between the Braves and the Dodgers to start the week here. Again, Braves, could be a scenario where they're 0-7 to start the season. And I just want to continue fading the Rockies. I believe they're on the road again, going up against the Phillies to start the week here, Scott. So I know Phillies got 2 out of 3 earlier this week. I'm going to continue fading the Rockies. It's just been a very, very profitable angle. So if you're going to look at Phillies -1.5. I know you don't get all 9 at bats with the Phillies in case it's a 1-run game, but I think that they can run away with it with the Phillies. So looking at that, and then like I mentioned, Red Sox Orioles to start the week. I think there will be an opportunity there for runs being put up. For if you want to go first 5 over, full game over. Those were the couple ones that kind of stuck off the page, at least to start the week on Monday here, Scott.
Yeah, I was looking last year's numbers for the Phillies in day games at Citizens Bank Park, and 50-26. How about that? And that's just for any game that starts before 7 o'clock Eastern time. So it doesn't, could be a 6 o'clock start, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever it is. It's not just all of the day games. If we just look last year and say the game started, what is this? Is this a 3 o'clock start tomorrow here on Monday?
So, 3:05 Eastern.
3:05. Okay, so we'll just look, games before 4 o'clock Eastern time last year. Phillies were actually 7-8. Last year, 9-6 to the over, 5-10 on the run line. So and it's just last year, small sample size, but I was curious to see how they did. Munaf, great stuff as always, man. Continue good job on the podcasts, and we'll be listening along the way.
Appreciate it, Scott. Have a great night.
There he is, Munaf Manji. You can hear him across the pregame.com podcast network, Sports Gambling Podcast Network as well. Frequent guest here on VSiN. Hey, speaking of baseball, if you're betting baseball, you got to make sure you're getting the best odds with ProfitX. ProfitX is the first peer-to-peer sports exchange in the U.S. available in 40-plus states. That means you're betting against other fans, not the sports books, and that gives you, on average, 10 to 20% better odds. You can even request your own odds. Download ProfitX today and use promo code VSiN. I'm Scott Seidenberg. You can hit me up on Twitter at ScottsOnAir. Coming up next, we'll have a best bet or two for you in the upcoming game between the Kings and the Sharks, your late NHL game here on Sunday evening. This is Live Bet Sunday right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here. It's Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, as we have looking like another live bet winner here, as the Timberwolves well in control of their game against the Pistons, 116-96. The Timberwolves leading the Pistons with just over 2 minutes to go here in regulation. Just a dominant second half performance by the Timberwolves over the Pistons. Kind of played out pretty much exactly how we handicapped it to play out, with the lack of depth for the Pistons and maybe just not having their head coach on the bench certainly affected them here in their second half performance. So the Timberwolves, who found themselves trailing at the half, and much like the Knicks, right, that we live bet that one, not only do they cover the second half number, they're going to wind up covering the full game number as well, as they lead by 20 points here with 2 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. So congratulations if you're following along. Another successful live bet Sunday, cashing with the live bets here in the NBA. Other scores in progress in the NBA right now, as we take a look at the scoreboard. The Rockets and Suns, the only other game going on right now. I mentioned possibly liking the Suns. They're down right now big, 48-35 against the Rockets. There's about 7 minutes left to go in the first half. Houston live, minus 9.5 point favorites. We'll see if there's an opportunity for a live bet in this one. I have no inclination, as I talked about with our guest earlier, Kyle. I can't stand the Phoenix Suns. I just can't. And now I lean toward Phoenix to start this game just because of their playing with desperation at home. Looking at the standings, they are on the outside looking in of the play-in tournament. They've lost 2 straight games. They lose this game, that's 3 straight losses. They're already on the outside looking in. They're gonna fall even further behind the Kings for the race for the 10 seed, even though the Kings have not performed well. They've lost 7 of their last 10. But right now, Phoenix a full game behind Sacramento. They'll fall a game and a half behind of Sacramento should they lose this game to the Rockets. And there's only, 7 games left? 8 games left? They're running out of time here if they want to make the play-in tournament. And right now, not looking good for the Phoenix Suns. So I'm not interested, really, in placing a live bet right now. But you never know. We'll see how the rest of this first half plays out. Maybe take a deeper dive into the box scores, see if somebody's shooting lights out, or if another team is just ice cold, and maybe it'll regress to the mean. But we do have one NHL game in progress right now. It is the second intermission. They'll start the third period momentarily. The Maple Leafs with a 2-1 lead over the Ducks. We are on the Maple Leafs in this one. Laid a little bit of juice, but we like Toronto in this spot. Not worried about the second of a back-to-back because they were in LA last night, so the travel is completely mitigated. Toronto a strong play here, and they have a 2-1 lead going to the third period. We have one other game that will begin in about 10 minutes or so from now. It is the Sharks at the Kings, where LA is a massive home favorite. The Kings right now, looking at the board, are upwards of a minus 380 favorite in this game. Now, I want to bet the Kings. I do. There's so many numbers that back this for me, betting the Kings. I can't lay minus 380. And even if I were to look at the Kings in regulation, it's minus 255. I could lay minus a goal and a half, and certainly it's a good play at minus 135. They could cover the puck line here. I could also look at some other ways to bet this game and take advantage of a great situation for the Kings. Now, what do I mean by great situation? Well, both the Kings and Sharks played yesterday. And this season in the NHL, when you have both teams playing on the second night of a back-to-back, so both teams are at a rest, the same rest, 0 rest. They both played yesterday. The home team in that situation this year is 32-18. 32 wins, 18 losses. That would be the LA Kings. And if that team was home the night before, 15-11. But still, Great numbers for the Kings. You're profitable betting those teams. Now, are you going to lay minus 380? No, you're not going to lay minus 380. And I'll be honest, the puck line number is not great. It's 26 and 24 on the puck line. It's not great. But here's what I kind of like about this situation. The Kings were just in this role last week, and they beat the Bruins 7-2 playing in this role. So they have, this scenario has happened before with this LA Kings team, and they won the game again, as I said, 7-2 over the Bruins. Those teams, the home teams in this situation like the Kings are averaging 3.4 goals per game, only allowing 2.8. And then we take a look at the starting goalies. David Rittich is getting the start for the Kings. He's the backup to Darcy Kemper. And Georgi Romanov is getting the start for the San Jose Sharks. Now, Georgi Romanov hasn't had a lot of time, hasn't had a lot of starts. This season, Georgi Romanov has just, let's see, how many starts? He has started one game this year. That's it. We've seen Georgi Romanov in one game against the, well, two games because he came in relief against Washington, allowed 2 goals in 2 periods against Washington, allowed 3 goals in a game that he started against Carolina. To me, that's a fade. Meanwhile, David Rittich, the backup for LA, we know the Kings are the best home team in hockey. And Darcy Kemper, their goaltender, has the most elite numbers on home ice that you're going to find. But David Rittich's numbers on home ice are just as good. Well, not just as good, but they're very, very good. In 14 home starts, David Rittich has 10 wins, 2 regulation losses, 2 overtime losses. He has a 2.18 goals against average. That's compared to a 3.37 goals against average on the road. So I'm very confident backing David Rittich, and I'm very confident fading Georgi Romanov. So this is going to be my best bet or best bets. And best bets are brought to you by G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN. I am going to lay the minus a goal and a half on the puck line with the LA Kings at minus 135. I am also going to take the Kings minus a half a goal in the first period. So the Kings to win the first period, minus a half a goal. That also means that, hey, if it's a tie at the end of the first period, I lose this bet. But I'm going Kings minus a goal and a half at minus 110 in the first period. So the Kings to have a lead at the end of the first period. That is bet number 2. Another bet I am intrigued by is the gift. The goal in the first 10 minutes. It is minus 160. But I do believe there will be an early goal scored in this game. So I would lay the minus 160 or shop around. You get a better price. I'm just looking at DraftKings right now on a goal to be scored in the first 10 minutes of the game. So 3 best bets. The main bet, Kings minus a goal and a half, minus 135. Love it. Second bet would be Kings to win the first period. Kings minus a half a goal, first period. Third bet, goal in the first 10 minutes, the gift. Yes, a goal to be scored in the first 10 minutes. I also lean towards the over. Over 5.5 is minus 125. I do like the over. And I also wouldn't hate doing a Kings team total over 2.5, although it is over 3.5, although it's minus 155, so we'll see. Anyway, those are my best bets. Best bets, as I mentioned, brought to you by G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN. G-Bank upping the ante with up to a $750 bonus for new G-Bank Visa Signature Card customers. New customers who spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days from account opening will get a $250 bonus. Apply now at vsin.com/gbank. That's vsin.com/gbank. Subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. So those are the bets in the NHL, including those are the best bets. So we're going to monitor that. We're also going to keep an eye on the Maple Leafs at the Ducks, and we'll see if there are any live betting opportunities. We're keeping an eye on the Suns game against the Rockets. Houston is absolutely dominating the Phoenix Suns right now. 55-38, Houston leads Phoenix. Plus, Greg Hoops Peterson joins us in our next hour to talk about the Final Four and recap what we saw here in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 of the NCAA tournament. Are you guys ready to take your sports betting to the next level? Well, the Sharp Plays at sharpplays.com is your secret weapon. Since 2011, they've been building trusted relationships with major sports books and sports insiders worldwide. They provide daily updates on what top pro sports bettors and betting groups are wagering on, so you're always ahead of the game. And they just launched the cutting-edge AI betting analyst that provides even more selections and reports. Plus, you can explore all of the records and detailed online logs right at their website, thesharpplays.com. What are you waiting for? Start today. Get access to the best betting insights at sharpplays.com. That's sharpplays.com. I'm Scott Seidenberg. We roll on Live Bet Sunday here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.